that we have cut all of Hannah's hair off. So don't be worried. So I'm really excited about her curls because every time we cut her hair, it unlocks something new in her hair. Hannah, you know, your client gets a nice rush of adrenaline, and it's a fun way to start out a haircut. And especially because they can already visually start to see where they're headed, and they get excited too. So I always make sure that when I do the adrenaline chop, that it's somewhat in the shape of what their haircut's gonna be. So if we're thinking about creating this round shape, essentially what we're gonna do in a much more strategic way is take all of her hair, over direct it forward, and cut it, right? So I'm gonna start with just a center part, a loose center part with my fingers, and just kind of get her hair going forward. This way I don't have to wet down all of her hair, and we can just kind of get rid of it preemptively. So about shoulder length and round. So we want all these curls to sit on top of her head. You always cut it longer than what you really want. You want to make sure your head is looking exactly forward, because that over direction really, really, really matters. So this is the fun adrenaline chop. Over directing it forward, cutting it longer than we want it. And I'm just gonna kind of softly feather, even though like we're doing a big adrenaline chop. I feel like when you do like, you know, just one big current into it. So just like see how I'm like going in with my scissors, and it's still absolutely not the haircut. So bringing this forward and this forward so that I can kind of like make it semi-even, because even though you're just doing a chop, you wanna, symmetry really matters, you guys. Like I feel like when you're working off of something that's symmetrical already, or at least a little bit symmetrical, it kind of helps with your end result. She has so much hair, you guys. So the reason I'm kind of doing it in little chunks like this as well is just because there's no way I could go in and get it all in at once. So I'm gonna wet it down almost 50%, because if I wet her all the way down, it'll stretch too long. So even though it seems like I'm going deeper, but really if I think about my cutting line being here, I'm still going about 50% of the hair. It's like a lot of the same, but by being super, I don't know, like methodical about it, and being very intentional about it, it's gonna help unlock their curls and give you the exact shape that you want. I'm kind of slowly now having to be up here, so I'm bringing it all forward, and then I'm thinking of the cutting line that I established underneath here, and then I'm not going more than 50% of where the cutting line is, right? When you cut with a razor, you can get really dramatic about it because it's in your hands and you throw it. Are they the same on both sides? Same over their ear, same exact place on the head, one piece of hair, check for balance, right? And then there it is. And now I do have to add a little bit more water so that I get the hair to respond the same way. I know a lot of people, it's like with precision hair cutting, it's hard to almost like be a little more organic, but it's important because we want to see where that curl separates naturally. Like it like bounces a lot in, you know, these little baby hairs, and then it kind of like loosens up right here. So I'm giving myself just this first middle section to kind of pick apart where her curls are. So just kind of individually picking out these curls, leaving them with like lots of kind of loose tension, and just carving around them. So you want to think about a square shape. You'd normally stand in back and just create a square, but a round shape, it's okay to travel around the head. So this section is going all the way to her ear. And it's okay to just stand right in front of that curl, carving around it, creating that rounded shape. Letting those curls separate. If you start to see like a little bit of frizziness, that's when you know, okay, let's go in, get that moisture back in the hair, and dampen it back up. Our job, the amount of like, you know, just instant transformation that you can do for somebody and get in their look is just like so exciting. She kind of, the way that her hair kind of clumps and the way that the curls kind of clump together, we can do that. Now the next section we take is gonna be a little bit of a bigger section, and we're gonna start elevating our way up these two quadrants in the back, creating more of a layer through that area. So the first section we drop down, re-wet where we need to get that curl pattern to bounce up. And also actually it shows off kind of this like texture on top of those shorter pieces. Anything below the occipital, I'm working with my, like to the palm of my hand, just cutting back and forth, creating like a textured weight line, or textured cutting line rather. And actually I can tilt her head towards me slightly, and that's gonna automatically elevate this section for me so that I can use kind of my cutting guide below. And every time I'm elevating a little bit higher and a little bit higher, I'm creating more layer, right? I'm kind of holding it so that you can see, but I would just flip it up and hold it right in front of me to get that result. Carving kind of little C sections, little C shapes in the ends of her hair. And then once we get to a place where you're at the crown, so now that we've kind of stacked this all up and we have this little V-shaped section here in the crown, we can work the entire mohawk. So we're gonna drop the sides that we've already established. So these, because we've already kind of established that stacking here, and now that we've established in the back, we have our crown and our mohawk section left, and then we can kind of connect everything through from there. So I'm gonna take just literally exactly where we left off, and I'm gonna put her down a little bit so that I can work over top of her head. So I was working palm to palm throughout underneath the occipital and creating almost like a graduation, so a buildup of weight here. And now I'm gonna start in with a layering technique, working over my fingers and all the way just from here all the way forward. I'm fluffing her out a little bit. So I'm gonna, because I'm combing, I'm using my comb rather than just like clumping it together the way that we did with the perimeter, because I need to kind of stretch her out to see like exactly what the shape is that we're building. And the reason I kind of don't mind the tension here is the more of a perfect kind of round shape that you create in these layers, the more it's just gonna bounce back perfectly, right? I'm being very like loose and very soft with my approach to the perimeter and everything else, because I wanna make sure that that's the exact length. And now I wanna make sure that this is the exact shape. So the shape is really important, so I'm okay with kind of stretching this out a little bit. You still want to give yourself that bounce back room and thinking about that bounce back room, but I'm okay if this bounces up a little bit shorter because she really needs it to. She needs this to be a little bit shorter, so taking a little bit of my guide, bringing it straight up now from the head. So after I establish the length here, let me show you what she looks like here. Look how cute you are. I'm gonna bring it out to the side and take off the corner and round out this corner right here. Just kind of rounding out those curls. And rounding out those curls. So now that we're here, a little bit closer to the top of her head, there's gonna be a kind of less to cut. Because we've already established that in the perimeter, right? Point cutting for extra texture, but we already took so much weight out that it's okay to just kind of go in and create your shape. So I'll take one little slice of her bangs and a little bit of that mohawk section, over direct it straight out from the head so you can see my elevation here, right? We're going straight out from the head like that 90-degree angle, pushing forward, and then I'm going to create those deep cuts to kind of connect it all through. And bringing it straight towards her bangs here. You can see how beautiful this connects. See how that all connects through that cutting line right there? And kind of connects over here, connects around the sides. And then you're gonna kind of just go around in almost pie-shaped sections to check it. just point cutting as you need to and as you're kind of dialing it all in. Then I'm gonna spray her down a little bit, and we could add some curl with the curling iron. I love my clients to be able to see this haircut with their natural texture, because even Hannah was like, my hair is so curly, you know, because that's exactly what this haircut does, is it brings out their curl and makes it even better, right? So I'm gonna make sure that it's all bouncing and beautiful with some curl cream and diffusing it, and boom, she's done. The rest of it's all her. And just kind of to make sure that this area is pumped up just enough to get this kind of shape. Boom. Right? I mean, how can you not love